The art of storing and producing solar and wind energy has been around for a few decades, and with each new invention pertaining to these fields, more prototypes are being made and worked on, with scientists generating easier ways to generate electricity. However, scientists are still burdened with an issue. As they keep designing more ways to improve the cleanest and cheapest means of generating electricity, there is still no way to store this energy. And for this form of renewable energy to have a significant impact, there has to be a way to save this energy so that it will be accessed anytime, anywhere. And now some researchers at MIT might come up with a breakthrough solar cell that serves as a solution to this problem, and guess what? It doesn't run on sunshine. This breakthrough solar cell is a new way of generating electricity from any heat source. And it is not just a cell that only generates electricity, it also serves as energy storage and can turn it back into electricity when required. What is this breakthrough technology, how does it work, and how efficient would it be in saving energy for later use? Join us as we explore the breakthrough solar cell that does not run on sunshine. We have different ways of generating energy from several heat sources, such as nuclear energy, natural gas, concentrated solar energy, and coal. The machinery used to generate power from these sources can be challenging to maintain, but the difficulty in operating this machinery is not just the main issue. These energy sources have been the leading supplier of electricity all over the world, as 90% of the world's electricity comes from these sources. And for the technologists to keep extracting energy from these sources, steam turbines are being used, but here is the bitter truth. The steam turbine method has not been operationally effective for several reasons. On average, a steam turbine operates at 35% efficiency, while the highest efficiency is recorded on a turbine's operation. This decline is due to the massive heat conditions in which the turbines work. The turbines can only operate at a temperature of 1500 degrees, and anything above that would cause the machinery to break down, causing vast loads of heat energy to waste. This cause prompted many researchers to keep looking around, hoping to find a solution to the energy-preserving problem: heat engines that can work successfully in very high conditions with no hassle. This is where thermo-photo-volatics comes in. Thermo-photo-volatics, also known as TPVs, are also like traditional solar cells. They are solar-driven heat engines that harness electrical power from thermal radiation. This breakthrough came from researchers at MIT led by Asik and Henry, an associate professor of mechanical engineering, which is also in partnership with the National Renewable Energy Lab. The main goal for the TPVs is to absorb and convert the solar radiation spectrum into a narrow-band thermal emission spectrum, which is set to the spectral response of a photovoltaic cell. They are regarded as renowned and influential as they have no moving parts and a high power capacity compared to steam turbines. They give room to store solar energy with the use of alternative fuels to be used to generate power continuously and to make them dispatchable too. The main objective of the solar TPV is to reduce the heat loss coming from the hot absorber and make the emitter work efficiently at higher temperatures, so the photons discharged would have enough energy. Still, when we look at it on the bright side, we should categorize them as two breakthroughs, not one. The first breakthrough is a comprehensive method of preserving renewable energy. This process begins by channeling a lot of wind into a semiconducting material, and a perfect example is a tin. The tin is heated to a very high temperature, above 2000 degrees for a start. This incredibly high temperature would then cause the tin to melt. This molten tin is then pumped into a closed-loop system of carbon composite pipes, with these pipes leading into an insulated and sealed building filled up with huge blocks of graphite. The room where this process takes place is filled up with argon gas, and it's to help keep the room chemically inactive, therefore stopping the tin and carbon from oxidizing. After the heat is pumped into the graphite, it can stay there for a long time. Graphite is used in this process because it's a perfect conductor of heat due to its layers of free electrons and carbon atoms. Professor Henry also commented on the graphite, saying that the rate at which heat escapes from the block equals its surface area. At the same time, the amount of energy that can be stored is related to their mass. This means that the smaller the object, the larger the surface area as a volume function. This is also why a cup of tea, for example, cools down faster than the Atlantic Ocean. Simply put, larger objects have a smaller surface area to volume ratio. The graphite block size is said to have covered an area about half the size of an American football field. This means that for the graphite blocks alone to cool down, it would take approximately months, making it the suitable means to store thermal energy. The second breakthrough is where thermo-photo-voltaic cells come in. The TPV cells are used to produce electricity, and the production of electricity by TPV cells is done through the following steps. At any point in time when the grid needs power, the graphite transfers heat from its blocks into a second building containing a line of hollow, large rectangular carbon-based chambers lined with tungsten foil. Tungsten foil is used in this process because tungsten diffuses protons across a broad spectrum from high ultraviolet energy to far infrared low points. Putting it releases enough light so the TPV cells can take it all in and transform it into electricity. When the heat is transferred successfully, the tungsten foil glows in full white heat, glowing like the string in an incandescent light bulb. These TPC cells are placed in a chamber known as the power block. Based on the electricity required by the grid, the cells can be raised up and down simultaneously in the power block, therefore increasing or decreasing exposure to the light coming from the hot and glowing tungsten foil. Although the TPV cells are similar, just like the regular solar cells we have on the roof of our homes, they have notable differences, such as the material from which they are manufactured. Traditional solar cells are made from silicon. They are fine-tuned to have a particular band gap that regulates the wavelength of light that comes in contact with it in a bid to shift its electrons from their space and push them into the electrical circuit. Every photovoltaic cell, TPV included, is programmed to absorb photons at a close range, which means that light with higher and lower frequencies is always wasted. So instead of silicon, the MIT team decided to use a different material called gallium arsenide, which the National Aeronautics and Space Administration uses together with the solar panels in space. Gallium arsenide can absorb more energy from solar radiation due to its higher absorption coefficient. Simply put, this material can extract energy from the light emitted by the glowing tungsten foil instead of the sun. There are also unique peculiarities about TPV cells compared to traditional solar cells. The conventional solar cells you have at home consist of single-junction cells, meaning they have two semiconductors for their p-n junction. Single-junction cells are also known to have issues associated with a lower efficiency, also known as the Shockley-Quasar limit. The total efficiency of solar cells is based on the principle of detailed balance. The maximum efficiency for a single-junction cell is 33.7%, but this is not the case for the TPV cells. The TPV cells use several gap junctions to avoid lower efficiency, and Henry's team ensured it was at its best. The team put down more than a dozen layers of several semiconductors to enable them to create two separate cells arranged on each other. Each layer is wired to have a reasonably different band gap used to extract a more extensive range of the light spectrum. These cells handle this heat as they are built on four sides of a heatsink, a block of metals containing water channels. As they flow through, the water draws heat from the cells. But the essence of this stage is that it moves quickly enough so that it stays in liquid instead of turning into steam. Even at this, light still escaped from this technology. But Henry and his team would not allow it. In order to capture the escaped lights, they placed a reflective mirror in there, making the lights bounce back to the tungsten foil before running its course all over again. This process is mind-blowing as it doesn't just manage light wastage, but also helps boost the voltage as the light is transferred all over again back into the tungsten foil. This process gave Henry and his team leverage as they reached a 98 reflectivity, and this feat squeezed out an additional 10% in addition to overall efficiency. When we talk about efficiency, the TPV cell's overall efficiency is proudly well over 50%. And if the cells can get to that 50% efficiency mark, a 1 square meter cell would be able to generate around 100 kilowatts. So an arrangement of 30 by 30 modules of about 900 square feet would have an overall capacity of close to 100 megawatts. Also, the graphite blocks can hold enough heat for the cells to keep generating power for close to 10 hours. Let's put this into perspective. If 100 megawatts per hour lasts for 10 hours, that would be enough to power hundreds of homes. And unlike steam turbines, which can have complex moving parts, TPV cells can deliver energy immediately as needed, just like the traditional solar cells we have in our homes, making them more suitable for grid-scale applications. Shortly, TPV cells would soon be present at and working effectively in power plants or smelters to improve efficiency and gather the lost heat emitted from these industries. Do you have any questions or observations about this incredible breakthrough solar cell? Let us know in the comments section below.